that you are ready to not leave your God and also keep your relationship with your people, even when they hate you, harass you, torture you, put you upon the cross, and kill you. And that is the love that God has for the creation. And that is the love that Jesus was displaying to that leper, to end his suffering of decay, death, painlessness, and all the other things that came because of the Jewish hatred for him, stereotyping him, and isolation, and the pain of being alone. Jesus experienced all this and more upon the cross. And now Jesus is talking about cleansing. So when Jesus is talking about cleansing, he's talking about ending death and decay and sin and hatred and everything. But when he's talking about cleansing of people, he sees this person as a whole. And now when the Pharisees are talking about cleansing, they are seeing that person being struck down by God, having this particular punishment, having got this punishment from God. But they are not looking at their own condition, that they will also one day die and their body will also one day decay. Jesus can see that. So Jesus says to them, now you will get the perspective. What comes out of a person is what defiles them. Jesus is saying the food that you eat and the food that goes to the latrine is something that your physical body is doing, and you are getting energy out of it, and that's that. But what is deeper, what is more significant, what is deeper is what comes out of you as a person, as a whole person, what comes out of you. The innermost you is the heart. Now, stomach, where Jesus felt this churning, is also an innermost thing, or a very inner thing, the deeper thing, within thing. But the heart is the seat of all emotion, including love and hatred. So, in a sense, sin and holiness. So he's saying the heart is the root from where, or they associated it with heart. Now, if you hear any shocking news, you'll get a heart attack. Some people, if they hear a happy news, they get a heart attack. Some people, if they hear a bad news, they get a heart attack. Why? The emotion that they feel at that time, the emotion is directly affecting their heart. That is how many people see the work of heart in emotion, the heart understanding or the emotional understanding. Now, our heart, we feel palpitation when we are stressed out emotionally. Many people, when they feel that their capacity, they have been tested beyond their capacity, and when they feel overwhelmed, their heart starts pounding, they have palpitation. Sometimes people have a high BP. And all these things, we say it's because of cortisol, stress hormone, all these things. Why do they affect the heart? This is how I believe many scientists of the past, many doctors of the past were connecting heart with emotion. And the research is ongoing. It is ongoing, and it will continue. And we will know, certainly in the end, that Jesus was not so wrong. Now, Jesus is talking about the seat of emotion, whatever you may consider it. You may consider it in the brain, you may consider it in the heart. But he's saying that wherever you consider the seat of emotion and the seat of passion and the seat of desires, your awareness of self basically has, the internal awareness has these elements, right? Like the values: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, meekness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22. Christian values in a nutshell. So values, and there are others also. Forgiveness is not there in that list. So there are many other values. Now, values is something very deep for every human being. Then passions or desires. And and aspirations, your goals. What do you want to become? What do you aspire to become? How do you want to be remembered in this world? And R, which is your reactions to certain things, your reactions that you have not even thought about. You just react in a certain way when something happens. This is very deep, and those things you may not be aware of yourself. Somebody may point it out. It may be a blind spot, or sometimes you may research and find out if there is nobody to help. But the point is that these things are very deep, and these are all connected to the heart. And now Jesus is saying from there, from the innermost place where the values and emotions and passions and desires and aspirations and reactions are located, from there certain things come. These are the things that defile a person. This is the real impurity. Jesus is saying to these people that when you look at this leper, you see that the external impurity and death and decay that is upon his body is the impurity. When you see certain foods, you see the external nature as being impure. But this is just a result, just a consequence of what is inside. The inside is more rotten than the outside. He's not ignoring the outside. Don't think that Jesus is saying that, okay, the outside is already, clean and it's the inside that has a problem. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying the results that you see outside are coming from somewhere within. And they are sexual immorality, thefts, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly, which are evil thoughts that come from the person's heart. They originate there, and eventually you do these things. And until you do these things, you don't even notice, you don't even care about these things, you don't even mind these things. And once these things are practiced, you call it sin, it is punishable. And that is true. Even God will punish you only when you practice these things in reality. Just because you have some lustful thoughts or some greed doesn't mean that God is going to punish you if you do not do something wrong because of this. All these things are kind of temptations which are existing within us, which are part of us in a sense after the fall. And these temptations which are inside us can become sin if we obey them. So these are the things that are making us unclean from within. And the result of it is the sin that you do, and then the death that comes and the decay that follows it. All these evils come from inside and defile a person. So instead of healing those outside manifestations, you must be healing that innermost thing, which is the heart. And how do you heal? That is what Jesus said, blessed are those who have a pure heart. They will see God. Blessed can be translated as happy or delightful. They are happy and they know what is real happiness. They are overjoyful. They are filled with joy is a word that is used, makarios. It means overjoyful. It is from a professor in New Testament, Dieter Kempler, who translated it as overjoyful. So delightful is my translation. Delightful or overjoyful or filled with joy and brimming with joy is a person who has a pure heart. All these things need to go. Then you have a pure heart. And if you have a pure heart, you will see God. And this is possible only if the blood of Jesus cleanses you. And only if you submit yourself, surrender yourself to Jesus and focus on Him and on the things that are above and not on the things that are below of this world, the earthly things, like your position, your rank, your grades, your abilities, how people see them, and your wealth and your health and everything. If you pay attention to all these worldly and these worldly things which are already, in a sense, under the blanket of death and decay, you will not get this heart. If you don't get this heart, you will not be able to influence or change anything about these worldly things. So if you want to make a direct impact on these worldly things, you must be cleansed from within, not from without. Jesus, when you focus on Jesus, your thoughts and mental and emotional elements will be completely cleansed, and all these things will go away when you meditate on Jesus, not just on his cross, but also on his resurrection and his descent. When I see Jesus, when many people see Jesus, they see just Jesus crucified. It is a sign of defeat for many Muslims, and it's a sign of defeat for many Hindus. And they say that we see Jesus crucified because that is a sign of love, and that is a sign of cleansing, and that's a sign of becoming a servant, all those things. But I see Jesus returning, not just dying upon the cross. Some people's Jesus never comes out of the cross. Some people's Jesus never comes out of the grave. Some people's Jesus is decaying, perhaps, because they don't even know where Jesus is right now. Some people's Jesus is still sitting there and, just enjoying the show, just coming in the morning, he'll come and see and take an apple and look at us and what is happening. Okay, he's sinning. Let us intercede for him. He's a high priest interceding on behalf of Manoj, or on behalf of Ruth, on behalf of Zain, on behalf of Annie, on behalf of anybody who is there. And Jesus is just watching this show. He is a priest, high priest, and he's sitting at God's right hand. Jesus never rises from his seat for some people because they are never persecuted. They never went through any crisis in life because of their faith in Jesus. It is only for Stephen and only for the persecutor Paul that Jesus is standing. Jesus standing means Jesus is angry. That is the point. God is standing from his throne means God is angry, and God is angry about people stoning Stephen, and he's angry with Paul, who was sanctioning it. And both these people saw Jesus standing at God's right hand. He was not sitting there. Now, some people, Jesus does not intervene in anything that happens in their life. But for me, when I look at it, when John was in Patmos, he was meditating about the condition of the church, and Jesus appeared to him and clarified many things to him, and then disappeared, of course. But that is where you and I ought to be every day, where Jesus is so intimately talking to you. And Jesus is telling you about what he's doing, how he feels about this world. He feels the same splagnistomai when he sees all these death, disease, defeats, deceptions, injustices. He's still feeling that. Do we feel that when we look at the world? No, because we are not with Jesus. We are not within Jesus. We don't even know what Jesus feels, how Jesus thinks of this world. And now Jesus with John, and John, after this particular experience, is just looking for Jesus to return. My Jesus is the Jesus who is going to return. My dear friends, that is the point. We are not seeing, like Paul was seeing the Messiah dancing in the Old Testament and explaining to them that Jesus is the Messiah. But Paul, he ended his message always with Jesus' return. And we are seeing it after John, which means after Paul died, 30 years after Paul died, John wrote this particular revelation, which means in between that time, John had this revelation when he was in Patmos. And then whatever he revealed, the end is Jesus is returning, and the whole creation is going to be renewed. Something that Paul was preaching, something that Paul believed wholeheartedly is going to happen. God is going to reverse death and decay, and he is going to renew his creation and bring everything into the same or even better relationship with him, where people will be image bearers of God's love, and they will never die. And they will reign with God. And that is where John ends his message. Jesus is returned.